Thanks, Phil.
Sarah, how are you doing?
Good, thanks. How are you, Sean, and how are you, Paddy?
Very well, thank you, Sarah. Thank you for calling. And just a quick reminder, we're recording this.
Great, and what are you recording it for?
Look, we're making a program that's going to come out, and it's going to look at some of these issues. So, Sarah, I've been keen to come in here and learn from the audience and learn from ordinary Kiwis about whether they're worried that New Zealand is a racist society, and whether perhaps that hate speech could control that or influence it.
I mean, I think there's definitely enough laws to combat any hate speech that goes on. I think the hate speech laws that are being proposed are actually more about censorship, and it will be more targeted at, you can call it, because you can use the excuse that it's racism to combat racism, which I don't believe is a big issue in New Zealand, but what it is in fact going to do is going to actually censor people who have an opposing view to mainstream science or mainstream government policy or even mainstream media. So my question for you, Paddy, is why is the mainstream media taking it upon itself to champion these kinds of issues? Because recently it's been happening on Twitter that we've got New Zealand journalists actually calling for Auckland City Council to cancel free speech events. So why do you as a journalist feel like it's important to promote these issues as opposed to just reporting on them objectively?
No, well, really good questions, by the way, and you're right, because journalists, journalists like Sean, journalists like Sean and I, journalists like Sean and I should really be the bastions of free speech, and we are. I am. Everything I do is based around, freedom and the ability to do it. I guess what I'm here for is to try and learn, what people are worried about if we did have another control on what some people would say is the worst part of free speech when you're talking about hating people.
So what about in terms of, for example, what happened at the weekend? We had a group called Mothers Who Stand for Freedom do an event at an Auckland City Council venue, and we had Josie Adams from the Spin-Off actually connect that group of mothers with the QAnon conspiracy theory, which has now been labelled a terrorist organisation in America. So what are we going to do with journalists who make these gross defamatory claims against people who purely want to discuss topics in a free and safe atmosphere and in a public setting that ratepayers pay for? So what are we going to do with journalists who absolutely defame people and speak absolute mistruths and slander free speech advocates? Yeah,
so tell me a little bit more about the organisation. I didn't quite pick up the name of it. Tell me.
No. The point is when journalists.
No, but what? I'm with you.
Calling people terrorists.
Yeah, well, come on, it was two degrees removed. Is the group? I need to ask you. Is the group? Well, Sarah, is the group linked with QAnon?
Of course not.
Okay, so it was a completely false claim. So you need to go to the Press Council. If that was published by the Spin-Off, go to the Press Council and complain, because that is a terrible piece of reporting, because it's not true.
What are we going to do with journalists who make these gross inaccurate claims? And because this is what it's about. Now, it's about conspiracy theories. Now, that was a term coined by the CIA to stop
okay, Sarah, we're off the reservation now, and we've got to go to a break. It's 13:48.